So this is Senator Adam Hollier, and this is the We Can Do Better podcast. I'm very excited to have my friend, Zaneta Adams, who is the director of the Michigan Department of Veterans Affairs. She is a fellow veteran. She is served in the Army. And so happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. And can you tell us the Zaneta story and how you ended up in this role and what you do?
Well, first of all, thank you, and thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day to you too. So it has not been an easy journey for anybody who will look at someone's life and say, oh yeah, I wish I was that person. Like, no, you don't necessarily want to have gone through the journey to get here, but I think it's what makes me so passionate about what I do. So I served 8 years between the Army National Guard and Reserve. When I signed up in 1998, I signed up with the Florida National Guard. I was living in Florida at the time. And just life happened in different branches of service. But I was called up in 2005 on orders to go to Iraq. So I was in my IRR stage, that stage where they say, oh, you'll never get called up, like you'll be good. No, they called me up. And send me a Western Union telegram, like basically, you're serving for OIF, OEF, and we're getting you ready to go to Iraq. Well, while I was preparing to go to Iraq in Fort Lee, I ended up falling off a 2.5 truck and severely injuring my back. And so that was a good 10 to 11 foot fall. And that changed my world. That just really flipped me on my head, because here I was in my 20s, having back surgeries and told I may never walk again in a wheelchair. And I'm like, what do I do with this life? And so I went through a roller coaster, suicidal and depression and all of these different things. And it really took me going to a women veterans retreat, actually, believe it or not. And going, I was going to all these different activities, Wounded Warrior Project, Disabled Sports USA, great organizations. I was going to these things, but I'd be the only female there, and we didn't really connect, So, but I go to this women veterans retreat, and I talk to women who are mothers and wives and who are dealing with things, and amputees, and just, it was just a really eye-opening experience. And I saw women doing amazing things without limbs. And I'm like, well, if they can do that without limbs, I could probably do a little bit more with that. I got mine at least. So
it adds a lot of perspective when you see other people doing things. You're like, okay, I can do this. I can do this.
It's motivating if you allow it to be. And so that's kind of what got me out of a little bit of my rut. Went back to school, went to law school, and then, but as you probably have heard from a lot of different veterans, I had to fight for my benefits. Mm-hmm. My disability benefits. And I fought alone. I didn't have a veteran service officer working with me. Here I was in, you might as well say Podunk, Illinois at the time, with no VA around me, no resources, nothing. And that's kind of what veterans are dealing with here in Michigan as well. And I didn't have that connection. And so fast forward, I finished school and go to law school, and I make it part of my life's mission to help veterans get connected to their compensation and pension benefits. So that's what I did for my time as an attorney. Really focused on that as part of my specialty of practice, and then started a women veterans organization in that time, so I could really help women get connected. And then,
what's the name of that?
WINK, for all women veterans. So it stands for Women Injured in Combat, and it was for women not just that were physically injured in combat, but that dealt with all kinds of things. And we looked at combat as basic training. You went through basic training, you went through basic combat training, then you qualified for the services that WINK provides. And so I did that, and I remember meeting Governor Whitmer when she was running for office, Muskegon, and she was talking to Muskegon Heights about some of the different things she was going to do. And I, kind of raised my hand and was like, well, what are we going to do for veterans? Like, we need more education, we need more resources, we need more connectivity. Like, what are we going to do for veterans? And she was very candid and said, I don't know a lot about that, but I want to learn, and I'd love to talk to you more about it. And so that kind of gave me a push, like, let me put my ring in the hat, my hat in the ring. and put it in. And I'm going to tell you, Senator, I had no expectation that I would be here.
Well, I will say that they were very excited about you. The governor's appointments director and I are friends, and she was excited to see your application, and we talked about you, and it was a very exciting moment, because you have a unique part of your story. I think too often when we see veterans organizations or veteran service groups, we think of your American Legion, white, older white guy, Vietnam era veteran, running AMVETS or some of those kind of things. But infrequently do we think of a woman running a veterans organizations, and much less a Black woman and an enlisted soldier, at that. So I think, when we were having those conversations, it was a really unique perspective about that you brought to this job, but also one that is really needed. I mean, when we look out across the country and look at the issues around sexual assault, around depression, around suicide. I mean, these are happening to women who serve in the military, because the military is not designed to take care of women. And, as an organization, I'll speak, specifically to the Army and the reserves where I'm at. I think we still have a long way to go before we get to a place of supporting female soldiers or transgender soldiers, or, soldiers the way that they deserve to be treated. And so I'm really excited to have been able to have you as a partner in this space, and to, have been able to do some of the outreach things that you've done throughout this process, before there was a pandemic, through this pandemic. And, I do want you to toot your own horn a little bit about the post that may have been named after a very special person that I know. So, maybe if you want to tell the people about that and how that happened.
Well, that's funny. So, I'm going to say, while I was CEO of Wink, I tried to bring together women from all across the country, and especially all across Michigan. And so we had this, we call a Military Sisterhood Initiative retreat. So I created this Military Sisterhood Initiative to be this national outreach network for women veterans that's online, that they can get connected. And I will say that it was in partnership with Challenge America and Wink. And there are over 4,000 women connected from 18 countries to the Military Sisterhood Initiative. But so we had this retreat in Michigan, and the women there said, we want to be able to have our own posts. We want to be able to, feel empowered, where we want to walk into a military organization, a veterans organization, and feel like we have a voice there. And so we all at that retreat signed up and created AMVETS Post 77. Well, when we went to go have our installation for it, they unveiled that they named the post after me. So
what's the name?
The Zaneta Adams AMVETS Post 77. So
that's super cool.
That is such a great honor.
And that is the first one named after a Black woman in the state, for sure, right?
Yep, and it's the first all-female veterans AMVETS post in the state of Michigan as well. So
probably one of a small number across the country.
Yes, yep. I believe it's like the second or third in the country.
Yeah, and so I think that's the thing that people need to recognize and to reconcile, is that there are people like you who are supporting women who serve. And in Michigan, you are leading that outreach for everybody. Man, woman, transgender, not Black, white, Latino, Asian, you are the face of the department. And I think that says something about, the level of services that we're going to provide. Can you talk a little bit about what MVA is doing, particularly around veterans that are, have been serving in war since, over the last 20 years, right? The kind of war and terrorism, kind of this younger generation of veterans have a different set of needs than, the Vietnam era or kind of Cold War veterans.
Yeah, so we're really trying to, for me, education is key. And so before the pandemic, I was all in on this outreach campaign to reach veterans where they are. And you stated it earlier, we have an older population of veterans, and we have that younger population of veterans who are coming out and with significant injuries and a lot of time overseas. And you have to reach them differently, right? So whereas commercials and pamphlets in the mail are going to reach more Vietnam veterans, and even VFWs and DAVs and all of those types of organizations, our younger veterans are not populating those areas.
Yep.
What we're really trying to do is One, we're reaching them through social media, we're reaching them through, advertising campaigns, but the other thing that we're trying to reach them through is unconventional places. So we are trying to, and I know we're going to talk more about this later, but I'll bring it up now, is that we've accepted the governor's challenge on suicide prevention. And that's in partnership with SAMHSA and the Department of VA. And one of the things that's really important as
wait. What is the governor's challenge? You got to let the people know.
I will. So the governor's challenge is it's a nationwide ask by SAMHSA to take on this challenge to reduce the number of suicides in the state. So Governor Whitmer accepted the challenge, and our agency is the lead agency on that. And it's compiled of different organizations and departments within the state. So we've pulled together Department of Corrections, Michigan State Police, LEO, we have the Department of VA on our team, and nonprofit organizations as well, to really get to the root of what's causing these issues, but also to see how we can change the narrative. And I bring that up because, not to say all of our veterans are struggling with suicidal ideations, but it's an easy path to go down, especially if we're dealing with isolation. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to empower anyone who touches veterans, that's private, public, veteran centric, to start to ask the question of whether someone served, because it's important to identify them. That's one of the things we struggle with, is veterans identifying of their service, whether they're not identifying because they're a Vietnam era veteran who, dealt with coming back home and nobody was very receptive of them, or you're dealing with veterans who have been deployed so many times that they don't want people asking, did you serve overseas? How was combat? They don't want those questions, so they're not going to identify. So we really have to start to try to get those unconventional places to ask the questions so that we can get them connected to resources. We have a few different things too for those who are coming back in to help support not only veterans, but spouses. And it was one of the things we did yesterday.
It was.
Yeah, and that's the license reciprocity. So it was funny, there were people on, when we posted the information on our social media, there were people that were saying things like, well, how is this different? Like, you already have this in place. Well, I'll tell you how it's different. Before it was just for veterans. Mm-hmm. The new legislation that you all are, this great bipartisan legislation, relates to spouses and dependents too. So it's a really great tool. And I gave the example earlier today that I think about a family that's from Michigan that's deployed somewhere, not deployed, but they're stationed somewhere else. The spouse is deployed for 18 months, let's say, and the other spouse wants to come back home and be with family. They want to be around family for those 18 months. And they have an LPN or a real estate license. Guess what? This legislation allows them to come back and feel safe coming back because they know they'll be able to have employment in the field that they're licensed in without all the red tape or the fees that are associated with it. So I think it's a great step, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Me too. I'm super excited. As I, got a chance to say, one of my really good friends who is, active duty civil affairs, so I'm in the reserves, his wife is a pharmacist, and, he is has a counseling license that he has to renew in every state. And their processes are so different because he's in the military and she's a dependent, and making it easy for them is what we should be doing all across the space. And, on Veterans Day and Memorial Day and these kind of moments, we remember very strongly the people who put on the uniform. But I think it's so easy for people to forget that our spouses are the ones who make the real sacrifice, right? Like, they're the ones who are at home watching the kids and taking care of the family, holding down the household. They're the ones who get left behind to take care of everything else. When we're away doing our job, that's the thing that we've been trained for. We know how to go do our stuff and are out doing it.
Well, and the kids too. Mm-hmm. The fact that, up to 26, you can have that opportunity. You think about, I think about the number of times my oldest daughter was like, yeah, we moved this many times. I was so happy when we didn't have to move anymore. I mean, the fact that when they finally find a home and then they get this license and they have to move again, or they're moving because they're helping out their family. Well, now if they move to Michigan or they come back to Michigan, they have those opportunities too. So you're right. Everyone sacrifices when veteran does. So
So I'm super excited about that work, but can you talk a little bit more about some of the direct ways that people can reach out or should reach out? Like, what should people be saying? Hey, this is a resource you go to NVAA for, right? Like, I know you talked a little bit about your social media, and so we'll make sure that, you know, you tell us how people can connect with you. But what should people be thinking? Oh yeah, I should go to them for this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So um, I'm going to say this, we are the resource hub. So I think about all of these twisted lines of communication. You know, if you need to be connected to emergency financial resources and opportunities, and you're struggling and you're a veteran or you're a spouse of a veteran or dependent of a veteran, then you can call our number and you know, you might be able to Google and find all these different places, but guess what? You call our number and we can do that for you, or we can let you know what's going to be the best resource for your issue and then do that warm transfer for you. If you're looking for a job, trust me, there are hundreds of thousands of jobs still available in Michigan, ranging from some of the frontline worker jobs all the way up to executive positions that we have access to within the state of Michigan and our veteran friendly employers. And they're just waiting for you all, spouses, veterans, dependents, to take those opportunities. And so if you're looking for that, we have this great partnership with Leo now. Well, we directly have their folks. We're warm transferring individuals who call directly to a person to get hired or get connected to a job. So you can give us a call for that. If you're looking for educational opportunities or want to learn how to transfer your credit into further military credit equivalencies, we have a robust veteran-friendly schools program that we can get you connected to a school that fits your needs, that potentially could also provide scholarships and give you those opportunities. And then, you know, health and wellness. So we can get you connected to mental health resources, substance abuse resources, peer mentors and volunteers, as we have our own that we can connect you to in your region, and just the like. So anything pretty much veteran-centric, we can get you connected to it, and you don't have to go through all the red tape to get there. We can do that for you. And I want to add that we can get you your DD 214 too in a much quicker time period than if you try to go through the National Personnel Archives. So
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So on a more personal note, let's get to know Zaneta Adams, the director of NVAA. What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie is actually First Wives Club. That is my favorite.
Really?
Yes.
That is not you got to tell us why. Like that was really a dark horse. Like that was a deep cut there.
Yeah. So I just, you know, I love the women power in that movie. And I love that they, you know, it's like their husbands did them wrong and they'd like figured out how to hit him, like they hit him in the pocket. So, you know, they give me inspiration if mine messes up. I mean, we've been married for 21 years. I hope we're on a good track, but
okay.
Go back on something. It's that movie.
Good to know. I guess he'll be like, he's watching, he's making sure he's all right.
He toes the line, yeah.
Clearly he toes the line. Movie. So in this moment, how have you been maintaining your own mental health? Like what are you doing for you to get through this pandemic? Like how have you been focusing on yourself? What do you do for self-care?
So I actually try to make sure I have morning prayer and meditation. I have to make sure. I mean, we're in times where nothing's certain. You know, you keep hearing the word unprecedented. Mm-hmm. You can turn on the news any day or turn on social media and walk away depressed. And so I have to fill myself, and that's what I do. I start my day by filling myself with positive things and meditating on positive things so that throughout my day, I can walk in peace. And so I try to live out those values. I try to make sure that my staff are feeling that as well, that peace, that they feel anxious every time I have to call them to ask them for something. But that's how I'm staying centered, is really just focusing on making sure that I'm staying above the mess that's out there in the world right now.
Okay, so you know, close and personal to my own space for mental health, I either build or exercise, and through pandemic have been doing a lot of both. You know, with gyms closed for a long time and then back open, what are you doing to stay active? What's your go-to exercise?
So actually, during the pandemic, I got access to an app that you can get like a personal trainer session once a week, but I have about 5 exercises. So I do, and it has to really be tailored, this is actually the best personal trainer I probably have ever had. because I have disability issues. And so I can't do everything that everybody else can do. So they really work with my back issues and my knee issues to make sure that I'm staying well and not injuring myself. But I've been at it for about 2 months, and my least favorite, I'm just telling my least favorite, because that's the one that sticks out, are the burpees. I can't, like, I'm just, every time that comes up,
I'm a burpee machine. I could literally do burpees all day. I had a workout with some of my best friends, and the buyout at the end was just burpees to fail. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll get to like 80, but I finished the workout ahead of them. So I knew them. So they started after me. And, you know, when my other buddies kind of dropped off, I was at like 300 and was like, well, I kind of don't have any more motivation, because this is just, you know, I felt like I could be doing this forever. But yeah, it's.
Well, you can do mine if you want. Because
hey, well, you know, maybe I will. Maybe I will. You know, things with rhythm, and you should see me when I'm doing rhythm thing. I went and did cardio kickboxing with some folks last year and a half ago or so. I have no rhythm. I'm like punching when everyone else is kicking, and kicking when everyone is punching, or like on my left foot when people are like, it looks really bad. It's an ugly experience.
Now that's what I miss. I actually used to do boxing for exercise when I was in, not kickboxing. Every time I say boxing, people think, oh, it's a girl kickboxing. No, boxing. But I used to do boxing when I was, my husband was stationed at Fort Huachuca. So we were there, and I used to take a boxing class, and I cannot find like a boxing class. Like, it's just, but that was fun to me. Like, and I was good at it. But that
they have apps for that. And honestly, I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but Team Red, White, and Blue have a bunch of, you know, engagements and experiences. I know they do some stuff down here in my neck of the woods. I know you're a little bit further on the west side, but I'm sure if you asked, you know, a good eagle, you'd find somebody who'd want to get out and do it. As a matter of fact, today I did I did CHAD. So I did a workout for suicide prevention with my friend Bruce, who is active duty CA, and we did. It was terrible. It was just a horrible, grueling workout. It was 1,000 box step ups with supposed to be a 45-pound ruck, but it was just easier for me to put 50 pounds in. So I had a 53-pound ruck. And when I was done and he beat me by 14 minutes, the only thing that kept me, you know, warm and fuzzy inside was I was like, well, I lifted 8,000 more pounds than you.
I had more weight. Yeah, exactly. I saw it that way for sure.
Yeah. And so towards the end, I was like, oh, well, you know, this is really, but I was watching Men of Honor to keep me moving, keep me motivated. But I just really appreciate you and appreciate you coming on. How can people follow up with your department if they're interested and they're like, hey, I need services, or I know someone who does need services? How do they connect?
So they can reach us at our 1-800-MISHVET number. So that's 1-800-642-4838. Or you can visit us at michiganveterans.com. If you want to see what we're doing every day, just follow us on Facebook at our Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency page.
Cool. So are you on Instagram? Are you on Twitter? What's your social media?
I am on Twitter. My Twitter handle is Director MVAA.
Okay.
If I'm on Instagram or not. Like I'm like that. I'm not that person that takes pictures. Like, I'm always in it, so I don't.
I know that life. Yeah. That's how my wife teases because she's never in photos. She's like, people are gonna think you're a single dad. It's like, no, somebody has taken photos.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm in it. So somebody else needs to take the pictures, but.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking some time with us on this Veterans Day. I know you are super busy in a, you know, kind of atypical year. We are looking forward to getting back to normal space, but we appreciate that you are continuing to do the work of taking care of the veterans in Michigan throughout all of this, because they were vulnerable before and continue to be so, especially as a result of isolation. So if you've got any final words, we'd love to hear them. If not, we'll say thank you and see you later.
Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate your service to our state and to your district and to veterans, and being that role model of a veteran that we all want to continue to aspire to be. And I will just say it to anyone out there that if you're struggling with anything, mental health, you're just trying to figure out your way out, that I always say that it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to keep it to yourself. And so that's what we're here for. There is nothing that we can't get you connected to the right resource, and it takes a strong person to reach out. So know that we're here for you. I know Senator Hollier is here for you, and you can always give us a call at our 1-800-MISHVET number. So thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Director Adams. And this has been the We Can Do Better podcast with Director Zaneta Adams, the Director of the Michigan Department of Veterans Affairs. And have a great and happy Veterans Day. And thank you to everyone who served, everyone who continues to serve, and to all the families who send their people away so that we remain safe.